6:09, and we are now in order. And then, yes, Ken, if you want to sort of kick us off there, that would be fabulous.
Don't you have to read that notice at the beginning of it's not on here, it's on the regular, posted agenda about the
Oh,
chapter 2, whatever it is.
Yeah, I'll read it. In
Thank
accordance
you.
with Chapter 2, the Acts of 2023, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, public bodies otherwise governed by the OML are temporarily relieved from the requirements that meetings be held in public places, open and physically accessible to the public, so long as measures are taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberations through adequate alternative means. The meeting of the Ayer Affordable Housing Trust will be live on Zoom. The public may participate remotely by joining the Zoom meeting ID number 264-558-0676 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Katie Neville at kneville@air.mass.us or 978-772-8220 extension 122 prior to the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda for the Air Affordable Housing Trust, Wednesday, August 26, 2026.
I will second it.
Oh, we have no chairman. Is that what's going on right now?
That's right.
That's, yes.
Oh, okay.
Ken, you'll guide us through.
All right, so we'll take a vote then on the approval of the agenda. And this meeting is 100% remote, so I guess we always have to call it out one by one.
That's right.
Roll.
Okay, so all those in favor?
No, one at a time.
Roll call.
Excuse me, roll call. Cindy,
Aye.
Colleen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
and the temporary fill-in chairman says aye. So we're off.
Wonderful. Thank you, team. And then Colleen sent through minutes for June and July. Hopefully you all had a chance to see those in the packet.
Yeah, sorry about not getting the June ones out. I was away. I thought I sent them and then I couldn't find them. So
No worries.
I move that we approve both the minutes from June 3rd and from July 22nd, 2026.
I'll
Okay,
second.
so the only complication here is Peter and I knew. I attended 722, but not 6-3. Peter attended neither one.
So as I understand it with approving minutes, you can approve them having not been there. You're just approving them as the record of the meeting.
Okay. All right, so Peter, do you have a comment on the minutes at all, since you weren't there?
Yeah, Peter might be frozen.
No comments for me.
All right, so we'll take a vote on separately. First, the minutes of 6/3/2026. Cindy,
Aye.
Colleen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Ken says aye. So the minutes of 6/3 are approved. Now we'll take, since we had one motion for both, we'll take a separate vote on the minutes for 7/22/2026.
729.
Excuse me. Oh, I'm reading on the printed one. I've got 7/22.
Oh, do I have a typo for the date?
No, I don't know. I'm reading the agenda. My
The
mistake.
agenda has a typo.
Agenda has a typo. Okay, so we corrected that. So we're so we'll amend it. We're taking a vote on the 7/29/26 minutes for the Affordable Housing Trust. Cindy,
Aye.
Colleen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
and Ken Diskin says aye. So those minutes are approved for the record.
Excellent.
Okay, so do you want to run the rest? Katie, how do you want to do this?
Sure.
Okay,
Rather than throw you at it, I mean, feel free to jump in if I'm, feel free to jump in. So let me stop sharing for a minute. And Peter, as this is your first meeting, I would love you to introduce yourself. I'm not sure if you know everyone in this room, but you certainly don't know the whole viewing audience that is definitely going to tune into this meeting. So I'd love you to just introduce yourself for a moment.
Hello, my name is Peter. I serve on the planning board with Ken. I'm the planning board representative. I've pretty much been in housing most of my life. I worked for the city of Worcester for 2 years, for the Worcester Housing Authority for about 6.5 years, and currently I work under DMH, doing housing placements for individuals with mental illness in the Worcester area. And I've been a resident of Ayer for the past, I believe it's almost 4.5, 5 years, and happy to be joining you guys.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
We're
Welcome.
thrilled to have you.
Welcome.
Awesome. All right, the next agenda item was to determine officers for this year. Given that we're at such a small force tonight, unless we want to voluntold everyone who's not here, we might want to table that one until the next meeting, if that sounds okay to everyone.
Sounds good to me.
That's good to me.
But I do encourage all of you to think about, like Colleen, you've tirelessly taken minutes and we appreciate it. And if you're willing to continue to do that, I'm sure we'd love that. I know Sean has said he's sort of been the default chair, so I'm sure he'd be excited if someone was interested in stepping up to chair. But just something to think about over the next couple months, because I don't believe we'll be meeting in September as a trust. So lots of time to think about it. All right, and then I'm going to get us back into the deck. I'm going to be hopping a little bit between a deck and the packet, so I'm going to have it just share my screen, but sometimes that can be awkward, so if it winds up being weird, let me know and we can work through it. All right, so the first thing to chat about is regional trust collaboration. So we talked about this a little bit last time because after the last meeting, I was hot off of having met with our esteemed colleagues out of Shirley who were excited to think about regional trust collaboration. So I didn't want to drop that thread, but in the meantime, there's been some exciting exploration about the idea of Ayer joining the Assabet Regional Housing Consortium. Just can you guys see yourselves as you're seeing my screen? Am I blocking my slides with you? No. Okay. You can see the map.
Yes.
I can't see the map because I've got you over it, but as long as it's not blocking you, that's all good. So the Assabet Regional Housing Consortium is a group of communities who come together and they have well, I'm not going to remember off the top of my head the name of the organization. So the Metro West Collaborative Development Organization oversees this consortium. So it's a dues-paying consortium. It is cheaper dollars than I think Ray or I thought it would be. It winds up being $300 or $400 a quarter to be a part of this. And out of that, you get monthly meetings where you're collaborating with. So it's sort of the folks who are my equivalent in each of these towns and trust members, housing board members. It's sort of anyone interested in each of these towns who comes together. They let us join in their August meetings so that we could start to get a sense of what the work looks like. And folks were sharing that they were just getting their trust back up and running again, or they were doing X, Y, or Z with their rental assistance program. So already you could sort of see where the synergies might happen, which was great. We are sort of a natural geographic fit to be the next community that might join this group. As you can see over here, we are Green Little Ayer, and I apologize for I did that on paint, so it's not the most glamorous of scribbles, but it's intentionally scribbled sort of off the border here because Devon's is a community that is part of the consortium. And so I'm going to be learning a bit more about some of the additional services they offer, like they can be the monitoring unit that sends out the letters to make sure that folks living in income restricted units are verifying their income each year. They can do that at an hourly rate and all that good stuff, which sounds like a delightful something to take off of our office. But we'll be learning a bit more about sort of that side of things. And so I'm going to talk to my colleagues over in Boxborough and Littleton, and hopefully Harvard, actually, as many of them as I can chat with, because we've got time. So they add new communities at the fiscal year, which is the same as our fiscal year. So it would be for July. And we would just need to let Hudson, as the mother community, if you will, the main community point of contact who does the billing and stuff, we'd need to let them know that we were interested by January. So lots of time to continue to unpack what this might look like, but I think it might do a lot of solving what we were hoping for when we were talking about sort of creating a maybe quarterly meeting with various trusts. So we don't want to reinvent a wheel that someone else is already doing if this feels like it's going to be a good fit. So just to know that that's something we're exploring, and to stay tuned.
Excuse me, Katie, do they have some, like a regional director, or they have people on staff?
Yeah, so they have a few people on staff. One is like a policy expert. One is the person who is doing all the nitty-gritty letter sending.
Okay,
And then there's the ED of the Metro West Collaborative, who it seems like is involved in sort of the monthly meetings. They bring in experts to the monthly meetings. So yes, there is sort of staff power behind that, which is what the dues pay for.
cool.
Yeah. So it seems like a great opportunity. I think they would be excited to add us into their little family of consortium folks. So I think that could be great. Stay tuned. They do biannual, but they call forums, which it seems like their next one is coming up this fall and it's in Devon. So hopefully they're often so conveniently located for us. But for those, they bring in a couple different speakers, and it's for the member community. So it's different than like our housing forum, for example, but it is an opportunity to sort of come together in person with these folks and get the value of whatever speakers are coming in. So
Just another question, excuse me, Phil. The Devon's one is the one I'm interested in because this must be made up of the people that actually have residences in Devon's, right? And that group of affordables that are within that, whatever it is, 272 at this point in time, I forget what the exact number is. But 25% of those are affordable.
right. So this consortium is playing some role in helping with the monitoring for those affordable units.
Thanks.
Excellent. So stay tuned there. And then the other thing in terms of collaboration is we'll be inviting these folks to our housing forum. So I hope this is on all of your calendars. The Affordable Housing Committee is hard at work, making sure that this agenda feels good and useful to folks. Janet went tirelessly to, I think, every committee that she could get in front of. So she was spreading the word and getting insight as to what people wanted to learn more about. So huge kudos to Janet for that.
Yeah.
And from that, we've got, I think, a meaty agenda that's going to put out a lot of great information for folks who can join us and for those who can then digest it later, thanks to public PAC, public access cable. Is that what it is? Air cable. It'll be filmed, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, APAC.
APAC. So Janet will open the evening, and then we will highlight sort of successes of the committee and the trust over the last few years. So the last time that the equivalent of this housing forum was held was in 2013. So it's been a few years since we brought the community together around this. So updating them on how our rental assistance program has grown and how through CPC and the trust funds we came together to support Devon's Crest, and how the CPC helped fund the new Habitat homes that are behind Town Hall, and how CPC invested in Air Commons, which is coming online. So I think just celebrating that which is already in the works, and then helping to sort of dispel some misconceptions and get out some good information. So I'm charged with talking to the group about what affordable means, sort of big A versus little a, how what that actually means for air, and then a little bit of air demographics. How is air evolving? And then we'll bring in Ron, who's on our affordable housing committee, who of MA Real Estate, who will come on and talk about what the local landscape looks like in terms of rentals, who can rent, who can buy in air, what are we looking at for average rents over time, and all that good stuff. Town planner Danny Ruiz will come on and talk about the zoning changes, and how they've played out. So he'll talk about the open space. It's more letters than that. OS,
RD,
RD.
residential.
Thank you. And how that has created great open space in town. He'll talk about inclusionary zoning and that there are projects now coming online for that. And whatever else Danny thinks the public might be interested in learning about. We'll have someone from the DPW, Dan or Matt or someone who will come and talk about AIR's infrastructure. So I think a lot of at least the Facebook flutter when we talk about new development is, oh, can our water support that? Oh, can in lots of ways our infrastructure, right, are the questions. And so having someone to say, here are the facts around all of that so that we've got that out there. And then Mike Wallace is going to talk to folks about ADUs. So what is an ADU? The different, like it can be above the garage, it can be a separate unit, it can be in the basement if it meets certain specifications. And so what does an ADU look like? How it can be a great way to add more housing to town, how it does not just need to be, it's not just an in-law apartment, it can be a source of rental income for those who have one on their property. So getting some of that information out, hopefully sharing some successes. I know that there have been a number of ADU, at least applications. Mike would know better how far they've progressed, but there's certainly interest in AIR. So talking a little bit more about how that's playing out. And then we'll have breakout groups where people can dig in even more. So as we think about the role of the trust at the forum, first of all, we want you all there. You're some of our strongest advocates around affordable housing, and to have you in the room, I think, is huge. So step one, we'd love to have you all there. I'm hoping it'll be Sean as chair for the last little while, who will be up there with Janet sharing out. So I'll make sure I loop in with him and we get that all lined up. And then for the breakout groups, I think maybe we, as a trust, I encourage you to sort of divide and conquer. Like, let's not all find ourselves in one breakout group. And then be part of those conversations, have your listening ears on, and then we'll plan to debrief about it from your perspectives as part of our October meeting. So make sure you sort of capture any takeaways and don't lose them. Any questions about the forum? There's pizza, if that hasn't been made clear to you and the viewing public, free pizza. So if no other reason, it's a great way to have dinner taken care of on a Tuesday. We'd love you to bring your high schoolers. Like, let's make this a family night out. Super fun.
Oh, wow.
All right. Lovely. Chugging right along then.
You want any comments or just want to let it go?
I always welcome your comments, Ken.
No, not me. I'm asking if anybody wants to make a comment.
Oh, by all means.
No? Okay. Cindy unmuted. Maybe she wants to make a comment.
Yeah, just it was a lot of fun the last time.
Oh, good.
It was remarkably fun to hear what people had to say, especially people who hadn't been involved in any of the stuff. It was interesting to hear what their concerns were.
Yeah.
So
Fabulous. And yeah, Colleen.
No, I was just going to ask a quick question in terms of advertising, getting the word out. Well, we have some flyers up around town hall with the primary on Tuesday. Might catch the eye of some people coming to vote.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We have a where I took our little whiteboard that's in our office, so we're on the second floor up right near the polling, and I made a lovely little advertisement um, emphasizing the free pizza so that hopefully it'll catch folks' eye. But yes, I think yeah, we're lucky that folks are flowing into town hall just in time to hear about it. So um, thinking about sort of order of operations for future years, I do wish that this was after Newton Street Fest, because I think that would be a great point to tell people about it who might not hear about it otherwise. But
Okay.
that's all right. At this one, we'll get to celebrate that Newton Street Fest is coming up the following Saturday, and that's going to be a fun community event.
So I'm on both the Affordable Housing Committee, as you know, and now this trust. So the Affordable Housing Committee is kind of pledged to be part of the breakout group, like on a separate table. It wouldn't all be together. So whatever, there's going to be a series of, the way you envision it is a series of tables, right, around the room. And at the end of the presentation, people would go to those tables and have a chat around the table on uh, what they might think about. So I'm also probably going to reach out to Danny Ruiz will be there, but probably Jonathan Krantz, from the chairman of the planning board, because we do anticipate that there could be people that are upset with some of the things that have been done, you know, to promote housing and whatnot, because there are people that clearly would rather see nothing done at all. They're afraid of construction. So, you know, if there's enough of us around, we'll get the information out the best we can.
Yes, I know Jonathan's planning to be there because he's also hoping it's an opportunity to, at the end, when we talk about next steps and how to get involved, he's hoping to have us champion the different boards and committees that are looking for folks right now. So
Okay, thanks.
excellent. All right. We've got a few slides on sort of thoughts and next steps on the rental assistance program. Nothing for which we needed decisions tonight. It's sort of planting some seeds, knowing there's some outstanding questions as we go into our 2027 application process and wanting to just sort of start the conversation. So step one, fostering sustainable pathways is how I framed this one. But you'll see here in the guidelines, several times we talk about how the way that ARAP was envisioned was that the 1 to 3 years that we're supporting households on this program, they're working on ways to make that sustainable long term, right? And so I was talking with Katie Petrossi and Mary Ellen Gorman over at the Senior Center. And Katie had a lovely idea, which I want to latch onto and run with her help, and if anyone here is interested. But she proposed sort of thinking about, and the way she rephrased it was the 5 different archetypes of households that qualify for ARAP. So think about, oh, we lost Peter. Peter, come back. We need you for quorum.
Oh,
It's all right. We're not making a decision right now, so I'll keep talking and he can jump in. But thinking about, okay, it's a family on ARAP because they're hoping that one of their earners is going to be stepping up in their job and making more money by the end of the program. And so that's the way it will be sustainable. Or it's someone who is eligible for a state voucher but doesn't have one yet. And so we're sort of the bridge to that support. And what are the different archetypes like that that we find in our program, and then how can we support each of those archetypes? So for someone who um, is eligible for the state voucher program, how can we help make sure all their paperwork is what needs to be and help follow that through with them? For someone who hopes to be earning more through being is currently underemployed and wants to find a better um, employment opportunity, how can we support them by sharing training opportunities or X, Y, and Z? So I, as clearly don't have them all sketched out yet. It's a notion at the moment. But the notion is that that then gives us, gives our office, gives hopefully eventually the social worker who's supporting this um, the sort of next steps to help share with folks. Because right now, although it says there's ongoing contact and that our office is helping develop a strategy, it just has been sort of beyond the bandwidth because it feels like, there's 14 different situations. And so I think if we can sort of say, simplify it and then line up the resources, um, that's how I'm hoping to approach this sort of wraparound sustainability piece of it. Oh, good. Peter's back just in time for me to say, I think he's got a lot of the expertise that will help in creating these resource pathways. So I'm hoping that Peter can be a thought partner on this as well. So there's piece number one. Any particular thoughts on that, Ken?
I'm good with it.
So, Katie, are you saying you haven't yet figured out what those archetypes are? That's kind of the next step, is to figure out how we can group the participants in such a way that we can approach each differently in terms of support.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
I think that's a great strategy.
Yeah. And I think it then, yes, I will leave it at that. I think there are ways it can evolve where maybe it becomes that to qualify to apply for year two, depending on sort of your pathway to sustainability, you've taken a step based on what we've outlined. But I think until we know what these look like, it's hard to say that that would make sense. So that's just a notion as to maybe how it might play into um, sort of the application process or the renewal process. But that's once we have something to react to, it's hard to say whether that would make sense until we know what it looks like. All right. Piece number two around ARAP is assets. So apologize, it's a lot of text. You do not need to read it all. I threw it in here for reference, but I just pulled from the February meeting minutes. The group reflected that there's not currently, excuse me, an asset. The application doesn't talk really about assets, right? Right now you cannot um, own property. That's sort of where we draw the line. Um, but according to the minutes, there were some circumstances in the last group of applications that at least merited another thought around assets. And because it came up sort of during the application and review process, it was decided that for the last year, we weren't going to make any changes, but we wanted to spend this time before the next application process to give it a bit more thought. So here we are. It's just about fall leading up to January applications. So I want to make sure we give that the time it needs to consider. I will say, in sort of looking at what's out there, many of, at least the couple of rental assistance programs I pulled up, they draw the similar line, right? I know we largely based our rental assistance program off Boxborough, so it doesn't surprise me that that is also what they do. I'm sure that's where we got it from. Um, but I pulled up Bedford and they similarly, um, it's just whether or not you own property. But there are some other models with different programs throughout the state. So we could consider if something else feels like a better fit. For example, the Massachusetts Rental Voucher Program, the MRVP, um, has it so that you can't have assets more than 1.5 times your household income or $25,000, whichever is greater. And then the Boston income restricted rentals have a $75,000 asset cap. So I threw on here because I think this is my big question for the night is what information does this group need to figure out what's right for Ayer in terms of an asset determination around the program?
Peter, do you have any experience with this kind of a question?
No.
Apologize. I got booted. I had a technical issues and we had a new kitten who decided to take out my whole setup. So I got I got yeah, he's running. I apologize if you see a flash of gray. He's crazy.
Oh,
Um he's cute, but he's crazy. Um yeah, as far as restrictions go for we run into it a lot. It's not a super common problem, but it does happen with a lot of our older individuals who just happen to have money saved up, or they may have, if somebody passes away and then money gets to them. You do see it kind of acting as a barrier for some. But as far as this, the 75,000 asset cap is a pretty good amount. I worry about the lower end. I know I think Worcester has a lower cap. And 25,000. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but things can happen where you can end up getting, you know, through inheritances or through something else, you may get a influx of money that may set you off. So, I mean, as far as the 25,000 is probably fine. And of course, I would be fine with not owning property. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to read this as I'm talking because I
yeah.
missed the beginning of this. But yeah.
Well, what information could I bring back to October that might make us feel better about starting to get to a decision? What would be helpful to dig up? I think based off the February minutes, and I only pulled these today, so I then didn't get to do what I wanted to, but I want to go back into the applications from last year and see if I can figure out what the unique circumstances were that had us raise this question during the last application process, because I think that might help us to better understand why we wanted to talk about it. So that's definitely step one for me.
So speaking because I haven't been involved in the past, I'm just typically the process involves how much income they make. It's based
Right.
on income, right? So now we're stepping aside and we're saying, okay, somebody could have some other assets, even though they're not a lot, and you're concerned that those assets would not allow them to qualify for the program. Is that the intent? You're concerned it would not keep them in the application process if they have assets.
Well, right now there's no way that there's no way that it would exclude them right now unless they owned property. So they could potentially be sitting on a significant bank account, but for whatever reason find themselves out of work. And so it, I think that's where we want to either say our income is good enough and we don't need to consider assets, or we want to say no, if you have a certain amount of money in the bank or
And retirement accounts, 401ks, pensions, those would count towards the assets.
they could, but we could also, um, there are definitely programs that define assets and exclude retirement accounts or
I would have a real problem with including retirement accounts and things like that in our figuring.
what if
I
you're
would too. Yeah, I would too. I'm just thinking that because that's another one that kind of pushes that up,
Oh,
especially for folks who are under.
no,
what
I
if
understand.
you are like at the point where you're drawing off your retirement account and that is your
That's gonna,
income at that point, and that's what you've
show
planned
it.
on living off of,
Might be
right?
different.
Then it becomes income when you're drawing off.
Okay, and there's all right. I guess I need to learn more about how.
I'm gonna default to Colleen and Cindy on this, but my, just my outside opinion being brand new would be that I think the program is successful. It may just be able to continue the way it is without counting the assets.
Right, I think the only worry, Ken, is that last year we had 30 folks apply and we're only able to support 14.
Right.
Right, so we just want to make sure that we're setting guidelines that are making it so that we're supporting the 14 who most need it.
I think,
that-
and this is just my opinion, just kind of off the top, that something like that should only be considered if it comes down to one person versus another.
Hmm.
You know, when it's really clear from the applications who needs to be in the program, who needs to have that and who doesn't. I guess I just don't want us to get bogged down in too much.
No, but I guess if you are trying to kind of thin the application herd, or the applicants, if you look at it as far as people, in this economy where people are struggling in housing, I'm actually surprised that there are only, there are only that 30 applicants. So it's a tough one, and something can happen in someone's life where, as Katie said, maybe you've worked your whole life and now you're out of work for a prolonged period of time, either maybe a physical disability, maybe a mental disability, or just can't find a job. You would be applying, but then the question is, what do you have saved up? And savings goes pretty quickly. So that's another reason why I want to be careful how much we cap it, because we could have people who are, may have $25,000 in savings, but if you don't have, if you don't have an apartment, or you don't have decent living, that money's going to go very quickly. You're going to burn through that very fast, and that asset's going to burn pretty quickly.
Is there a way we tie it to the rent? Like if you have 24 times your monthly rent in savings, then I don't know. Maybe I'll do some more digging as to what others do, because us here sort of spitballing is probably not how we want to land at something. But I'm also like, I am okay not adding anything, right? Like, I think adding one more thing just makes the analysis, once it gets to my office, that much harder. But it was put in as something that the trust wanted to talk about. So I just want to make sure we didn't not have the conversation as well.
Maybe we need to go back over it when we've got everybody here, because I don't remember the people that aren't here. I don't remember how they felt about it. I don't want to speak for them.
Yeah, no, we're definitely not going to try to make a decision tonight. So absolutely.
And just as a side, we with vouchers where they are, with HUD right now, today I had to tell 4 people that they were losing vouchers. HUD's moving away from PHP and going to THP housing. So, I don't know how many voucher holders are in Ayer, but there's a potential, if HUD continues in this direction, that you are going to see more people kind of coming off those federal HUD vouchers, whether they be COC vouchers or MRVP, or if they be, Section 8. We don't know what that's going to look like over the next year or two.
Yeah, absolutely. The landscape is changing in a lot of uncertain ways. And I think if we do think about an asset limit, I would also like us to maybe consider year 2 and 3 differently, because we don't want to discourage people on the program from saving, right? So you come in without a lot, but we want to encourage you to be squirreling away so that by the time 3 years rolls around, you've got that safety net. So even if we do wind up thinking about what it looks like for initial applicants, I do urge us to think about it differently for repeat applicants. So, all right, to be continued. If people have thoughts about it in the night, feel free to email me or questions about it in the night. Like, I think knowing what the questions are so that I can come with lots of good information next time would be good too.
Yes, what would be helpful to me is if this, just give us as many examples of other cities and towns. Maybe
Okay.
towns of a similar size to us if possible, but just as many examples as we could see would be helpful to me.
Okay. I love that. Will do. All right. Last bit on rental assistance. So according to our guidelines, application period is 45 days. So I threw that onto a calendar for us. And I propose that our applications this year open up on Monday, the 4th of January, which then puts us actually to Thursday, February 18th. But I figured the end of a week is cleaner, so I gave us the bonus day. So I am imagining that our application period is through February 19th this year. And so given that, working backwards, and we'll talk about it at the end, but I think we've got like 2 more meetings between now and then. And so I am proposing that by October, any changes we might want to see to the application or how the ranking has worked or the program guidelines, we have a first read of what that might look like. And then we're looking to finalize it and vote come December. And so given that, I am curious if there is anyone here who, between now and our meeting in October, might like to be my thought partner in sort of looking at our application, looking at other applications, seeing what we might like to steal or consider, and help come to October with sort of an initial set of considerations. I welcome anyone. I would love someone with folks with daytime availability if possible, just because this fiscal year they got rid of flex time for us. And so anytime I want to do something outside of work hours, it's a whole approval process by the town manager now. So daytime availability is my sweet spot, but I can certainly make something else work if there's interest and daytime doesn't work. I would love our new folks to consider helping with this a little bit, because I think you'll read the application with fresh eyes, and that would be great. I'd happily volunteer.
I mean, I'm happy to help out. I don't have much in the way of daytime availability. Unfortunately, I work in Worcester, but I mean, you could do a Zoom type thing and discuss, but in person would be tricky.
No need for in person. As lovely as in person is, we can certainly make
Okay.
Zoom work, and we can keep them short and sweet check-ins too. That doesn't need to be long workshops of digging through stuff. That's great, Peter. Thank you.
Yeah, then I'm happy to help out.
Awesome.
I'm in the middle of a lot of things, as I think you already know, so I have to pass on this, unfortunately.
Fair enough, Ken. We'll look forward to your reactions come October, with whatever we come up with.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a bit of a crazy fall.
Fair enough.
So I hesitate to put too much on my plate.
That's fair. And Cindy, you're only doing 8,000 things, so I won't voluntold you on this one, but if you're interested in thinking about it, stop by anytime. All right. I've got Peter. We'll see who else we can drum up who isn't here, but we'll plan to come to October with some thoughts. And I will make sure that we send out what we're thinking about well in advance so that you guys can also give it some thought in advance of the meeting. All right. That's a wrap. Lovely. Next. All right. We haven't done anything new with our money, so the balance is feeling about the same. We've got about $132,000 hanging out in the bank that we can continue to dream and brainstorm about all the great ways we're going to advance affordable housing with that. So we'll talk about how we're going to do some long-term visioning later. The other thing I am now learning about is our audit. So according to the trust bylaws, we're to be audited every year. Turns out we were not last year. So for this round, we're going to do an audit of FY 25 and 26 together. So that's great. I just had an email exchange with Mr. Rosselli of Rosselli Clark and Associates today. So I'm waiting to hear when he might be able to fit us in for that. They did a combined audit for us back in 2022-23, and they did our FY24 audit. So it should feel very much the same to them. So hopefully it won't be a heavy lift and they'll be able to squeeze us in. Our treasurer, Barbara, tells me that they are stretched very thin because there's fewer and fewer firms that do municipal work these days. And so we're going to be grateful whenever they can get us in, and I will keep you posted as I learn more about what that process looks like. All right. Now I'm switching over to our packet, and I'm just going to take you through a few things that I threw in here. So, all right. Should have had this queued up. Mhm. All right. So just a quick follow-up from last time. Thanks to the recommendation, as we talked about, we got some more money for the emergency assistance program through UDAG, which is awesome. And I had said I would sort of follow up as to how we were adjusting that. So I developed this eligibility checklist to sort of guide me so that it's not just, it's so that there's some clarity around how the fund works. And importantly, to call out, so in that same meeting with Katie and Mary Ellen over at the Senior Center, we agreed that for anyone who's 60 or older, we're going to have them start by talking to Mary Ellen over at the Senior Center. Because anyone who finds themselves in need of this emergency fund, I think would benefit from Mary Ellen's great case management. And so it will flow that folks 60 and older go over to Mary Ellen first. And if by working with Mary Ellen, they decide that the emergency fund is the right support right now, Mary Ellen will let me know and we'll flow the process that way. Otherwise, people will still, same deal with veterans, can go see Mike first just to make sure that they're taking advantage of any resources that might be available to them through their veteran status. But then we also outlined that I have lived in Ayer for at least 6 months, because one thing we're finding is we're getting a lot of requests for folks who are temporarily staying at the hotel, for example, a motel rather. And we really want this to be a fund to help people stay in Ayer. And so given that it's limited funds, we sort of put that out there as a threshold number.
Katie, why do we go with 6 months and not a year? I know a lot of municipalities go for a full year for some of their housing programs. Is there a reason behind?
So this is not our rental assistance program.
Oh,
It
okay.
is a $500 one-time grant.
Oh,
And
my
so
apologies.
it'll for example, it has helped cover the cost of the local motel during a cold snap for some of our unhoused population, but it's for the folks who have called Ayer home for a long time. Um, is sort of the intention of the fund to support our residents. Cindy, I see your hand.
You were talking about the senior center, and I'd like to know what about people like my friend who you know, who is under the age of 60 but is highly disabled.
Yes, so good call it. Anyone with a documented disability is also encouraged to work with Mary Ellen.
Hopefully that is now happening. I'm not sure.
I am always helpful. I am always happy to help follow up about particular cases. So I also, Cindy, would love for you to have this available for anyone who you
Yeah.
see through your stone soup work if
Yeah, we're going to have some people, I'm afraid, that are going to need some help this winter if they don't manage to get there, get off the street
yeah.
in the next month or so. Even that's too early because if it's only $500,
I know it doesn't go very far.
it doesn't.
Um,
Thank you.
yes. So just a quick follow-up based on our conversation last month. The
Just a
next,
quick question.
yeah,
Katie,
Ken.
how much money is in this fund right now?
So the
Did we see?
town gifted $15,000 through UDAG.
Oh,
We get a consistent monthly gift from IC Credit Union for 2,500, and then there was a couple $1,000 sort of hanging out from the previous year. So just about $20,000 for
okay.
this year, although we've already supported 5 cases just since July 1st. So it does go quickly.
Can somebody apply multiple times?
Not multiple times a year.
Okay, so once a year they could. Okay.
Is this the kind of thing that we like CPC? I don't want CPC funds or other town meeting funds could just add to the number. I mean, it seems like a tiny number.
Well, so I think the first step was the UDAG funds. So Sean advocated for that, and that's
Right.
way more money than it's ever been, right? So the fund started 5-ish years ago with a gift from Main Street Bank for 5,000 and the IC credit for 2,500. And then it's only had since then the $2,500 a year from IC Credit Union. And so this $15,000 is far more than it's ever had. And I think seeing how that gets used is going to help us make the case if we find that it is insufficient, for example. But I think
I don't know.
this is a lot more than it was. So we'll take it as a win to start. But I agree. I think the need is high. $500 is not a lot. I know that there's a lot of other municipal support funds where it's $1,000 cap, which sometimes that feels like a drop in the bucket, um, but it's what we can do right now, and we'll see. I think the benefit of such a fund, excuse me, is it's an opportunity to have folks who need help come talk to Mary Ellen or to me as best I can, or to hopefully our future social worker about other resources, right? So it's a piece of it, and then it's okay, and what's the next step?
Okay. Is this the same thing we talked about last month? And there was some apprehension on the committee that it's not in our purpose.
Right. So it's not in our purview to dictate. The trust through Sean had encouraged the select board to increase the allocation. And so it was just a follow-up to that conversation. But yeah, there's no decision by the trust to be had here.
Good, thank you.
I think that the trust could not fund it. I think CPC probably could not fund it, but
Ken, you're thinking of, I asked, why are we even talking about this?
That's right.
Okay, so that's a good.
I suspect CPC, if they could fund it, could only fund housing requests
Yeah.
because that's the CPC bucket, but it might be worth, I mean, I can bring it up at our next CPC meeting to see if that would be a way to supplement housing related requests. I don't know what the answer would be.
Fair enough. Colleen, I think would love to have a better understanding of, because we only have CPC funds, what activities are we restricted to, just as we're starting to do long-term planning. So maybe if you and I can take that offline, I'll formulate my question in a little bit of a better way, and if we can figure that out. Because I think as we think about the housing production plan and the master plan and dreaming what we want to be doing 10 years from now, I think it would be helpful to have an understanding of, are the things we want to do something we can build into CPC asks over time, or do we need to find additional funding sources to do X, Y, or Z? So
Right. Yeah. I'm happy to chat and share what I might know, or we can pull Janet in as well.
perfect. All right. All right, continuing under the for your information. So Devon's Crest allocation update. So this is a follow-up last fall. The trust committed $170,000 to help with the buy down of affordability in units at Devon's Crest. And we've not actually expended that money yet. Same with the $400,000 that the CPC expended. And so just know that we've not dropped it. We're going back and forth with the lawyers over there, and we're trying to get that buttoned up. Janet and I are hoping we have a meeting on Monday. But that's coming. Devon's Crest is still very excited. Shockett's excited that we have supported them in that way, and we're trying to actually get it buttoned up and get that money out. All right. The next FYI is some nice bedside reading for you all. It's my inclusionary housing bylaw sort of discussion draft, where I make my case that our inclusionary zoning bylaw as it's drafted, because it only restricts the required affordable units to 80% AMI, doesn't actually make anything affordable for Ayer because we are part of the Cambridge HUD zone. And so I am working with Danny and the rest of the land use team to bring an amendment to our inclusionary zoning bylaw that would restrict rentals depending on the project size to either 60 or 50% AMI, which I'm super excited about. So I hope you'll all take some time to peruse why I'm excited about it. My, I guess, query to the trust is one thing. As I was going through many, many, many other inclusionary zoning policies across this great Commonwealth, I found something kind of neat that both Newton and Maynard do, which, speaking of finding additional mechanisms to fund the trust, so we currently in our inclusionary zoning have a way that if you do not want to produce the rental units, you can. Is it rental or ownership, Ken? I'm going to get it wrong.
It's probably both.
No, it's only one of them.
Okay, so it's the rental then.
Okay. So if you do not want to produce the affordable rental units, you can do a payment in lieu and give a chunk of money to the trust, but it's sort of an all or nothing. You can do payment in lieu for all of the units that you don't want to do. The thing that Maynard and Newton have in place is right now, so the inclusionary zoning mandates a percentage, and you generally have to round that percentage. And so in Newton or Maynard, if your percentage hits a fraction, you can choose to payment in lieu just that fraction. And so you're not mandated to do sort of the one extra unit, but you're throwing a little bit of money because it's just a piece of what a unit is sort of valued at. Which I think sounds interesting because I imagine it's something that might actually be taken advantage of. Um, Taken advantage of in a good way. Like I think it might actually get the trust money. Right now, our payment in lieu doesn't get the trust any money. And so I'm trying to think, is there a way we can make it easier for people to give us money? Um, you
I
wind
think
up not getting that extra unit, but we're going to come up with all sorts of other great initiatives that we're going to want to spend that money on. So just sort of thinking that through.
Why did you say the payment in lieu doesn't get the trust any money?
Right now, because everyone is just choosing to build them. Right? Nobody's opting to do the payment in lieu. And maybe that will change naturally when we restrict the AMI, right? Maybe the reason nobody's choosing payment in lieu is because the affordable units aren't actually requiring anything cheaper. And maybe just the nature of our amendment to begin with is going to have some people opt to do the pill. But
I think the thing that you,
No, I think that's sorry, Ken. I think that's probably it. I think you're not going to get anybody to do a kind of a pilot type thing when the AMI, the AMI 80% of Cambridge, Boston metro area compared to what everybody else is. Um, Absolutely, I think that's you'll see that switch. Maybe not right away, but pretty soon after.
all right. So maybe that's good guidance that we don't need to pull all these different levers. If we're pulling the AMI lever, that's going to naturally make it so that some people opt in and do that funding source.
you got what's tricky here is, unfortunately, we have three projects that are approved that have affordable units that may never get built.
Sure.
They're sitting there not getting built right now. So they went through the planning board. They're obligated to give us the affordables, but they haven't pulled any permits. So the only ones that have really gone forward that have the affordables are Stratton Hill. He's a long now. He's given them to us without being required.
Yeah.
They're a long ways away. And the project, the Fields project, they owe us three, but they're going to be for sale. So I
Right.
don't think there's any right now that are under construction that,
Well,
although they're permitted by the planning board, they're not under construction.
well, that's fair.
So it's kind of strange how we really can't get a feel is what I'm getting at for what I understand what you're trying to do. I think it's a good idea. But even though it shows like we have, I don't know, let's say 10 or so, let's say that are permitted, but they're not being built right now, unfortunately. Something's going on. So we're not going to get a good idea here because until those people come forward and do it. Now they have Newman's approach too, right? Since you've been here to say, how do I do this other than the fields, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the only one. So we have, yeah, it's kind of an issue.
All right. Well, fingers crossed that folks
The
actually
project
build their developments.
is an incredible piece of work that you did. It's a mind-boggling, amazing piece of work.
Oh,
And
thanks, Ken.
the company that's going to do it, of course, we know is the Grossman Company, a company
Right.
that's been in the business for 100 years and is able to do this financially and is very cooperative with you in the town. So we're going to get those units. Those,
Yeah.
I think it's three, right? Something like that.
It's three. Yeah. So the Old Town Village building that's coming up. So Old Town Village currently has three apartment buildings. They're going to add a fourth where old Lazy Mary's and single family home were out front. And so at 32 units, they're obligated to give us three affordable. And they were very responsive when we advocated for something that's meaningfully affordable in town. And they said that they would price those at 10% below the market rate units that they're going to do, which is
It's a beautiful piece of work. Nice piece of work.
yeah. So that's all exciting. And stay tuned for a bylaw update. I think we really want an updated bylaw in place by the time there's a piece of property on West Main Street, which could have upwards of 100 apartments on it eventually, sort of opposite Devon's Plaza. And so I think by the time anything moves on that property, we'd love to make sure that what's coming online is meaningfully affordable. So stay tuned. Because we have an MBTA community overlay district, there's a extra step with sort of state approval on anything that reduces the AMI on an inclusionary zoning. So this may come to fall town meeting. We'll know sooner rather than later. And if we can't make that happen, it'll come to spring. But stay tuned. And again, bedtime reading. All right. And then I think still in this packet. So for any of you interested or any of you watching, New View Communities, of which we are part of their catchment area, and who we'll be hearing from at our next Affordable Housing Committee meeting. So we'll be able to share more about New View and the programs that they offer. But one of the programs that they offer is this Affordable Housing Stewards Training. And it is this lovely free training that brings in all sorts of fabulous experts from across the Commonwealth. And if anyone would like to spend their Monday evenings this fall digging into all things affordable housing, I would love for our town to be represented in this. Francisco, who Ken and I met at the Massachusetts Housing Partnership Institute this past June, is sort of leading the charge on this program, and he's excited about it and helping to spread the word. So I promised that I would share that here.
That's an amazing opportunity right there. This is no charge at all. They just
Nope.
got, wow.
Yeah, lots of great experts. It's all fabulous. I think he then has everyone get together for a sweet little graduation because people then worked together for weeks. So it's also a nice little cross community building
Where is it held?
opportunity. It's via Zoom. I think they do a gathering in Fitchburg at the end, maybe, but it's all via Zoom on Monday. Oh, fair
Sounds
enough. Or
very
in person. I
interesting.
guess you could. I think it's Fitchburg. So I guess if you wanted to be in person, but
Sounds very interesting.
yeah.
This is quite a piece of put this together. It's really something because
Yeah, no, it's a great,
like one of these things a year or something.
absolutely.
But I think that the second one down, that Shelley Gehring, is that the correct? I think she came to the last housing forum we had here.
Yes, I believe you're right. I believe Shelley from MHP. I think she came to the first housing forum.
Yeah.
So not 2023, but the one before that.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Katie, do you need to be able to go to all of them, or is it you could go to one?
I will get clarity on that because
Good
I
question.
agree. If I could pick a few, I would love to do that as well.
Uh-huh.
So let me get some
Yeah.
clarity from Francisco on that, and I'll send this out to the group with that clarity.
Thank you. I was going to ask you if you would send that form.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Lovely. All right. We're down. We're almost there. Thanks for sticking with me. I know we're over an hour, so we'll do a little dance break. Almost there. All right. Okay, next agenda item, future trust initiatives. So again, as I was sort of alluding to earlier in the program, I want to make sure that we are daydreaming and envisioning and saying, where do we want to be able to be investing dollars in 3, 5, 10 years? Feels especially important as we're coming up on master planning and our housing production plan. And so I am curious to hear how folks would like to do that. Do we take one of these meeting times and just sort of workshop? Do we try to get together in person? Do we try to have a joint meeting with the housing committee, which I think could actually be great? What do we want to do? So big question mark there. And to help support that, we could potentially apply for this lovely little mini boost if we felt like we might want a consultant to help us sort of figure that out. So MHP has funds of up to $5,000 that trusts just like this can apply for support just like this. So it feels like it might be worthwhile to bring someone in who can help us do some visioning.
I'm on board with any grant you can apply for. So
Say that again, Ken.
I'm on board with any grant that you can
Oh, well,
apply.
there you go. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think getting funds to have a consultant help us with this would be great. And I also think, then bringing the two committees together to work through that, sort of combining resources would be great.
Yeah. I see this as Mass Housing Partnership, but what about the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission? Have you reached out to them for the same kind of technical assistance? Do they offer that at all?
So they do offer technical assistance. They have a particular time of year when you can apply for it, and I believe it's like late fall into winter. They, I believe, helped us with our housing production plan last time around.
Yeah.
So I think we also want to potentially reserve that technical assistance in case we want to employ them for that purpose.
Okay.
But maybe it's a yes and it's possible. So yes, also a
I mean, everyone here understands how this works, right? We taxpayers pay them to put this money in programs for housing. Then we have to apply to get the program over here to get the money back, so we can use the money that we already put into it. So
right, for sure.
and it's fascinating that they put this administration in between, and that's the way it works. So you're competing against other communities, but it's money that's already been funded. It's in a. So when you hear somebody say, "I support housing," yeah, they supported it. They put a bill together. Then we have to go get it by the grants. That's basically what happens.
Yeah. So we'll keep going after everything we can.
Yeah.
If we think about timing in terms of if we imagined we were going to try to find a time to get the trust and committee together, are we looking at January, February at this point? Because that's how busy the fall gets for people, or do we think it's something we want to try to fit in more in November during those nice, lazy, hazy days of November? Um, I think we've got, and maybe do you planning board folks have a better sense of the time? Do either of you have a sense of the timing on the master plan? I think it's a longer rollout. So if we're hoping to have some thoughts to help inform that, I don't think we're in a rush. Um,
It might seem to me like January, February would be more realistic. That lets
yeah,
us kind of focus on the rental
yeah,
assistance, application process in our next couple of meetings and then, turn our attention to this
that feels
in the
right to me
winter.
too. That sounds good. And then it gives us time to put in a grant and find a consultant and maybe do a little homework. So we're coming in knowing what the initiatives that we're talking about are. Okay.
I just wanted to follow back that list that you gave us from New View. Obviously, you'll give it to Janet Povarekis, who will make it available.
Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. All right. I will get that in motion. And then final thing is next meetings. So, I think we, assuming it still sounds good to folks, are not meeting in September because we're hoping as many folks as possible are coming to that housing forum. So we'll see you all on the 29th, and then we'll reconvene as a trust. Um, I'm looking at Wednesday, October 21st. It's the week before town meeting, so town meeting is Monday, the 26th. wonder how that feels to people.
Is there any reason why we would want to meet after town meeting instead, or does it not matter this time?
I don't think it matters this time. So last fall, the Devon's Crest money and stuff was all wrapped up in
Right.
town meeting, but yeah, no, I think it'll just be sort of advancing our rental assistance stuff. And so it shouldn't matter in terms of when it is in relation to
Sounds good then.
Yeah, I was going to comment that it might be a benefit to meet before town meeting because we would want to rally support for your inclusionary housing bylaw and be ready to comment if we wanted to at town meeting.
Love that. So yes, if I'm able to get that on the warrant, it would be great to have
If you
an
get it by
opportunity.
you get it to that point. So anyway,
Fingers crossed. Yes, no, that's a
be
great
more
point, Ken.
informed, then to be able to potentially have a nice lady like Cindy come up and talk about it and support it.
If we could be so lucky.
So anyhow,
Perfect. All right.
Tell
So
me
we'll-
what to say and I'll go up and talk about it, but I don't ask me to figure out what to say. You will be sorry. Sure, I'd be happy to present it. Just,
no, you don't have
I
to
gotta
present.
know what to present.
Yeah.
Yeah, perhaps the trust will have voted in support of the amendment should it be on the warrant, and you can share the good news. All right, October 21st, and then while we've got our calendars out, I propose we skip November because one, I'd like to have us on an every other month as much as that cadence allows. And also November, you got Thanksgiving and we'll all be recovering from the election, whatever that brings. And so by mid-December, hopefully we'll be good to come back together. So that would be Wednesday, December 16th, if that feels all right to folks. Awesome.
Okay.
Works
I'm good
for
with it.
me.
All right. Thank you, team. I appreciate you spending your Wednesday evening with me. All right, go cuddle that kitty, Peter.
I know he's been biting my toes this whole meeting. I'm gonna strangle him once he's off camera. Have a good one, guys.
Before we,
Wait, we have to
Yeah,
make a
okay.
motion to adjourn and take a
Yes.
vote.
Thank you.
all right, see ya.
No. Ken, wait.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Colleen.
Somebody needs to
second.
second.
Who were all, without looking it up
Second.
online, who are the other members? So Sean and the other gentleman,
Bob
Uh,
Williams.
Bob Williams, right?
And Pat.
Oh, right, Pat.
Pat Latimer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that makes a total of Katie. You're considered part of the meeting. Okay, so we have a quorum at 4. Is what I'm getting at.
Right.
The
Mhm.
committee is 7. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Sayonara.
Hold on. We heard a motion to adjourn. We need a roll call vote.
Oh,
First, we need a second and then a roll call vote.
second.
Okay.
So Colleen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Peter,
Bye.
Cindy,
Aye.
Ken votes aye.
Thank you, everybody.